husband and I have been lifelong renters. We're in our 30s and we recently had our first child this past year. So we are just itching to get into our first home. So it got me thinking, how much house can I actually afford? I partnered with the experts over at Money Under 30 to tell you exactly how much housing you can afford on a mortgage payment, and then I tested the numbers for myself. Wow. Hey, what's up guys? It's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt and live payment free. So the housing market, as we know, is just insane right now. And this past year has brought a lot of change. Now I wanted to show you, let's dive into this. There's a chart from Freddie Mac that shows the 30-year fixed rate mortgage average in the US. Now check this out. This is at an all-time low of 2.88%. Now imagine trying to buy a home in the early 80s. The mortgage rate was over 18%. That's unfathomable. So you can see why a lot of people are ready to buy a home because mortgage rates are so low, and when you consider a 30-year mortgage and you're only paying 2.88% over the course of those mortgage terms, you're going to be saving a lot of money on that interest, whereas when interest rates were higher back in, 2018, it was 4.8%. So even though mortgage rates are really low, the cost of housing has increased. In fact, we saw the housing market increase 13% from this past summer. So sales are up, home buyers are ready to dive in, and inventory is really low. Now, due to the pandemic, a lot of the new build supplies have kind of been on back order. So the cost of lumber, raw materials, and paint have all gone up, thus contributing to the rise in the housing market. Now, I've been living in San Diego for the past 6 years, and we've been renting this entire time, just waiting to get in, building up a really big down payment. But the median home prices in San Diego could be over $1 million by next year. Go on Zillow and take a look at what $1 million gets you in this city. It's just insane. We're talking about Cracker Jack box style houses. So then I was thinking about, well, I'm from Kansas City. What if I just moved to my hometown where it's a lot cheaper? But even there, the median home prices went from $194,500 to over $240,000. So you're going to see this across the country where all of the home prices are just going up. Now, I wanted to give you a screenshot here of the median sales price of houses sold for in the US, and you can see in the 60s, from 1965 to 1970, it's pretty flat, right? But then it just continues to go up, up, and up, and then we see this sharp increase and the fall with the Great Recession and the housing market crash. And now we have continued to go up, and you can see from basically around the end of 2019 to all of 2020, we've seen another sharp increase. So it just has me thinking, okay, the housing market is really hot. However, if money is still burning a hole in your wallet and you're like, I have a family now, I've got 2 kids in this 2-bedroom apartment, we need to get out, we need the space. I feel you, I understand. Let's see exactly what we can do with our budget. Okay, so this article on Money Under 30 called What Percentage of Your Income Can You Afford for Mortgage Payments actually listed out some good things to consider. And the first rule here is to consider your total housing payment, not just the mortgage. So you'll have to consider other things like property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance costs. All of these things go into home ownership, and they're also called sunk costs. So all of those expenses that you pay for with maintenance and insurance and property taxes, you don't ever get that money back. So that's part of owning a home. And you could argue, well, with renting, you never get your money back either. However, there is an exchange. I pay a rent in order to live in this fabulous condo and get access to amenities and the maintenance costs done for me. The homeowner's insurance just done for me, and the HOA fees are all covered as part of my rent. So if you are still thinking, yeah, I still want to take on those costs, and maybe you are also taking on private mortgage insurance or PMI if you didn't put 20% down, then how much should your mortgage payment be? Well, according to the article, the traditional model is to have 35%, no more than 35% of your pre-tax income dedicated to your mortgage payment, and then your total debt, including the mortgage payment, should be no more than 45% of your pre-tax income. That's kind of crazy for me to think about. 45% of your pre-tax income dedicated to debt. Like, that's just wild. And a lot of banks are going to tell you that this is a very conservative approach, but according to the article, and I have to agree with this is actually pretty average. This is an average way that Americans are taking on mortgage payments and adding that on to their financial journey. Now, Dave Ramsey is going to tell you a truly conservative approach, which would be no more than 25% of your after-tax income. So the money that you actually pocket, which I think this is way more realistic, right? The money that you take home, your mortgage payment should make up no more than 25% of that amount. Plus, he also recommends a 15-year fixed mortgage rate. Now, I understand that so that you can get faster at that home ownership and truly own your home and pay it off. However, that's not a realistic approach for people like me living in Southern California. There's no way I could take on a 15-year mortgage and also 25% of my after-tax income would buy me, I have no clue, a studio apartment maybe, and that's just not enough for my growing family. So I really like this point in the article where David says the more you spend on your income, the less you have available to save for everything else. You may be able to afford a housing payment that is 35% of your pre-tax income today, but what about when you have kids, buy a new car, or lose your job? So he makes some really great points here because there are some things that are going to just change in your life, in your lifestyle. You're going to add kids into the mix. You may change careers. Your income fluctuates. And so taking that into consideration, he actually has 2 points to make in determining how much mortgage you can afford. So he says there's 2 rules. Aim to keep your mortgage payment at or below 28% of your pre-tax monthly income. And then second, aim to keep your total debt payments at or below 40% of your pre-tax monthly income, but that should be a max. He actually recommends an even better goal to keep total debt to a third or 33%. All right, with those 2 rules in mind, I wanted to hop back over to moneyunder30.com because they have a home affordability calculator that you can use to kind of get a ballpark estimate of how much you can actually afford. So let's hop over there and I'm going to plug in my numbers. All right, so looking at your income, expenses, and your mortgage, let's take a look at my monthly income before taxes. So before paying taxes, health insurance, etc. Kyle and I are bringing in about $20,000 in income per month. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, that's a lot. That's before taxes, that's before health insurance, that's before the 35% I pay to run my own business. Ridiculous. You guys know if you watch my budget, beers and budgeting reports, that we typically bring in about half that. Okay, so 20 grand, monthly debt payments. So the total of minimum payments on any other debts you have, which is 0. We are debt free. Okay, then let's determine the interest rate. So if the interest rate average is 2.88%. Let's use that. 2.88. And then we've been saving for a hefty down payment, so I'm going to put in $150,000 for our down payment, and the length of the loan is definitely going to be 30 years. All right, let's crunch the numbers. Good Lord. Max house you can afford is $1.7 million. And the monthly payment is $6,600. That is roughly over 60% of my monthly take home. So I would aim to go far less than that. In fact, I think Kyle and I were looking at starting homes around the $850 price range. So this is just insane. But I think this is a good way to show you what's actually realistic. And if you have been budgeting for a long time, go ahead and plug in the numbers and work with your mortgage lender. Figure out how much of a mortgage you are pre-approved for, and then ask them what that monthly payment would look like. You can use that as a basis to plug into a mock budget to figure out if this is actually doable and realistic. Now keep in mind, you may, depending on your situation, you may end up spending more than what the calculator is showing you, or you may be spending less. And I think in this crazy time of the housing market that you have to do what's personally best for your family. Now, I know living in a 2-bed, 2-bath condo with my husband and my daughter right now works for us. Yeah, we're going to quickly outgrow that space here in a couple of years, but for the time being, it's working, and the rent is a lot cheaper than a mortgage payment for us. And so if that's you, if you are still renting, I would encourage you to check out Money Under 30's article on renting is not wasted money. And I think this is just going to make you feel a little bit better about your current renting situation, because it isn't just throwing away money. And remember, there are also sunk costs with home ownership. So don't think that home ownership is just going to continue to build equity. You could very well lose money on that home as well. So take that into consideration. Definitely check out these articles. I am going to list the article links in the description box below for you to check out. Go ahead and read through them and let me know what you think. Regardless if you are holding off like us and trying to figure out when to step into the housing market, or you're ready to go right now, taking a look at these housing affordability calculators and figuring out how much mortgage you can actually afford is going to help you step into the housing market and into that buying experience much more confidently, because you understand your finances. Thanks so much for watching this one, guys. If you like it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you in the next one.